Hi, I'm Eric Bolling in for Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Let's get straight to our top story. The FBI today made public dozens of pages of documents from its investigation into Hillary Clinton's personal email use while Secretary of State. FBI Director James Comey announced on July 5th that he wasn't recommending any charges against Hillary, but said she was, quote, extremely careless, unquote, in handling of, quote, very sensitive, highly classified information, unquote. Joining us now from Washington is Fox News Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herod. So, Catherine, in these new documents released by the FBI, what did you find?
Well, Eric, the critical document is this one here. It's called an FBI 302. That's the code the FBI uses to describe interview summaries. You know, it's not standard for the FBI to tape record an interview. That was true in the Clinton case, so there's no transcript. There's just a summary based on the agent's notes. And what's really stunning as you read this document is again and again and again, Hillary Clinton, on very key questions, says she simply does not recall. She does not recall when she got her security clearance. She does not recall whether she got specialized training for handling classified information. She doesn't recall whether she had special briefings for handling what's called special access program intelligence. These are some of the government's most closely held secrets. And the other thing that really jumped out at me is this issue of intent. She said she couldn't really remember the circumstances around which they set up the ClintonEmail.com account in 2009. But the FBI agents, based on this document, they never press her on this issue. There's no follow-up in this case, and this really backs up the criticism of Republicans on the Hill who had read this document, that it just seemed they never pressed her hard on the key issues, Eric.
And also, there was another document, 47 pages, where kind of details of some of the investigation that the FBI was doing. I found that very, very interesting. A lot of information we hadn't heard in there as well.
Well, that document says that she had, over the course of using the server, more than a dozen devices, and that would undercut her claim that this was really about having a single device and convenience. And also, based on the document, it's not clear they always knew where her devices were or how, in fact, they were disposed of. And look, anyone with any technical ability understands that when you're finished with a device, especially a device in this case that it turns out had classified information, you have to take very special steps to destroy that data. And I find it interesting they took more extreme steps to delete the emails they felt were not government records and that were personal.
Yeah, those 33,000 she didn't have to recall. I guess they just got rid of them very quickly. Catherine, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Joining us now with reaction from Washington, Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch and author of the upcoming book, Clean House, Exposing Our Government's Secrets and Lies. Now, Judicial Watch has played a key role in making Hillary Clinton's emails public in several Freedom of Information Act lawsuits, and also made a FOIA request to get today's FBI documents released. Now, Tom, you had some time to comb through some of these documents. What are the most interesting new news that we didn't hear about before? What did you learn?
Well, Mrs. Clinton's memory problem is notable. I count 30, 40 times where she said, I don't recall. At one point, she said, when asked about briefings she may have had about the handling of documents and what she should have done with them when she was leaving office, she said, well, I had a concussion, so I may not remember the meetings. Other documents show that the FBI report shows that she kept her BlackBerry in the secure part of the State Department where classified information is discussed and used, and that's in violation of the rules. You're not supposed to have any computer devices like that, unsecured computer devices in those sensitive areas. And on top of that, she blames everyone else for her classified mishandling. She says, I trusted the others not to send me material that was inappropriate in terms of being classified, and seems to argue with the FBI why it's okay to summarize and send around and use classified information on her system. But she admits she had what is called original classification authority, which is very important, because that shows she knew and understood her obligations to police everything she was getting at the State Department for classified information. And she had individual responsibility no matter what anyone else was doing. And the topper is, supposedly Colin Powell suggested if she told anyone about her device, they would be asking for it and suggest it was government records. And boy, that leads to the conclusion she didn't tell anyone, at least publicly, about her devices. because she didn't want anyone to know about them and get the records. And then it turns out, after the story broke in the New York Times, one of her computer people went and deleted her emails. This is after the news broke, and it looks like a meeting with her lawyer took place around the time that happened, and they declined to divulge what was said with Mr. Kendall, her lawyer, using citing attorney-client privilege.
While reading this other document, the 47-page document, which, by the way, the last, I'd say 10 or 12 pages are completely redacted, a couple things jumped out at me. They admit they had 13 total devices over the period of her time at the State Department. Previously, I've heard 1 or 2. That now it's 13. But this is how these devices were acquired. Hillary Clinton would send an assistant who would literally go to the same electronics store somewhere in Washington, D.C., and buy it retail. Now, can you imagine that this is the Secretary of State, the most powerful diplomat on the planet, having an assistant walk into an AT&T store, buying a device? After about the 3rd or 4th, don't you realize that the secretary is getting these devices? It seems like it's open, absolutely open for espionage or stealing of information.
Well, exactly right. And 13 devices over 4 years. Now, you know, we all have phones, but who goes through that many phones? So much for the convenience sake. And she recognizes that there were security issues and there were warnings, but of course she doesn't remember some of the details, the key details of that. And we have the documents showing that she was warned repeatedly on the lack of security, yet she continued to do it all the time. And she acknowledges all these documents were sent out, but she can't remember the warnings everyone else in the State Department had. But evidently she didn't bother following.
Tom, at one point there was a line or a paragraph in this FBI document that said Clinton asked for an encryption to be put on the server, but no one did it because they were so frequently fixing the server. They were replacing the software. They said they couldn't put the encryption on. It wasn't going to work. Does that refute some of the things that she's testified as to?
It sure does, and it shows that her server was even less secure than would have been normal for most other servers, even in the private sector. And I tell you, when you look at the rigmarole that they were going through to set up these servers, moving them in and out of different servers, mailing them, they're losing computers, losing Mrs. Clinton's emails in the mail, supposedly, we're told. The key laptop with her archive supposedly was lost in the mail. You know, the FBI, frankly, comes across kind of like the Keystone Cops here, coming to the game very late, asking questions very late in the game, not knowing where any of the key materials are, and relying on, at one point, they referencing the campaign website to figure out how many emails she may have had.
Yep. All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Tom Fitton, thank you very much. The polls keep tightening, and there's more troubling news about the Clinton Foundation and Hillary Clinton's email server almost every day. Is the Clinton campaign getting nervous? A top Clinton supporter steps into the no-spin zone directly ahead.